Hey, everybody, welcome back to Turn Bark Time. I'm the Turn.
I'm the Bark.
We're going to be here a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, this, peeps and peoples, this is Season 3. Episode, not 5, not 10, but 15.
We should have a quince.
This would be our third quince, Barker. What can we say? We like to party. All right. We told you at the end of the last episode that we were going to do a little Q&A. We got a number of responses, and by a number, I mean not a very high one. But we did get one really good question. So shout out to Tommy Workinger. I think former student of both of ours. Yeah?
Yes, I had him at one point. I'm pretty sure I taught him.
You had an 8th and I am 7th, I think. So, Tommy, if we got that wrong, our bad. But he asked us a really great question, and so we're going to start with that. And then if we talk too long, we'll cut it off. If not, we'll do a couple more. So, the question is, Mr. Jonathan Backe, why did you become a teacher?
Well, when I started college, it was not my first career path, TBH. I was at LCC and I thought I was going to be a commercial art designer, and I would love to work for somebody at the time in Longview. It was a company called Bill Hatch, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. But like to work for somebody like BSN or one of the other like companies that provides uniforms to schools and get to do design work and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. But while I was at LCC, I was coaching, and people had always said, like, "Oh, you should be a teacher," and I was like, "No, I want to make money." I started coaching. I started coaching at 18. I coached 2 years at Cascade Middle School and then a year at Mark Morris, which is the rival of where I work now, but that's okay. Everybody has a long journey. Sometimes it happens. Like, look at Benedict Arnold,
Just got to that part in the Hamilton book. His wife was a fantastic actress. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I realized how much I enjoyed working with kids. And I want to get away from the trope of I became a teacher so I could coach, because that generally leads to people thinking that you're not very good at teaching and you only care about the coaching. But I think it made me, that time with working with young people at that time made me realize that if I could have that much impact on kids, only being around kids for like an hour and a half to 2 hours a day for like one sports season, that I could probably do a lot more good for a lot more kids if I was on campus all day, every day. And so at that point, I transitioned kind of I would say like probably like 2/3 of my way at my time at LCC, Lower Columbia College, go Red Devils or Fighting Smelt, depending on which mascot you want to claim there. But
definitely the Fighting Smelt.
When I transferred to Wazoo, my intention at that point was to get a history degree, which I don't actually have a history degree. I have a social studies degree from Wazoo, which means that I took a wider variety of like upper division econ, psych, and soc, and like anthropology and not just history. And I didn't have to write the big history paper. But don't feel bad for me, because I took my master's in American history and wrote the big paper. So
he did.
It got me later.
Yep.
But I think that was kind of like how I got there as an adult. And then like another part of it when I was younger in the process in college was I wasn't happy with how little time we spent on the more modern history. So like from World War II to present, I didn't feel like I got enough of that while I was in school. And so it was one of those things where it was like, well, I want to make sure, kind of like be the change that you want to see. And so it's one of those deals where, you kind of get out there and you try. I mean,
yeah.
And I can say honestly, like the way that there have been a lot of changes between what curriculum looks like from when I was in school and what it is now. So like to think that that's part of it. So that's that's why I'm a teacher, and I will continue to be a teacher because I don't know if I have a lot of marketable skill. I always tell kids when we talk about barter economy, like I can't go to the grocery store and be like, I want this shopping cart of goods, and I'll explain democracy to you.
Doesn't sell.
Yeah, I should explain like totalitarianism or something, and I'm the dictator. Maybe that would work better, but
yeah, go for it.
So, Mr. Turner, why are you a teacher?
It started in 8th grade, which is ironic because that's the grade I teach now. I had a teacher, Mr. Scott Harrison, who actually is fun. He's the assistant or deputy, I think is what they call it, deputy superintendent at White River School District. So I don't think he watches this because I don't think he's on social media at all. But Mr. Harrison, if you're watching, shout out to you. We actually do get to see each other once a year at job fairs. So he goes for White River. I obviously go for Quincy to recruit.
Go Hornets?
Hornets. Yep, Hornets. Yeah. Because it's right next to Enumclaw, and I always get that confused. Because Enumclaw is pretty much the same, too. So, but yeah, so he sat me down one year. The history when I was a kid was, hey, memorize this name, date, fact kind of deal. And that's where curriculum led us. It was worksheets, it was things like that. So I remember him sitting down and we were in class and he goes, all right, I'm going to give you your final right now. And he's like, this is the final, this is what we're going for. And I was like, okay. And so he handed us the U.S. citizenship test, 100 questions, right? And I don't remember if it was multiple choice or not. But I remember because we passed our papers around, to grade, and he's, thinking that it's not going to be a big deal, anything like that. And I don't remember who graded my paper, but he was like, okay, he's like, how many people your person got, 10 out of 100, 20 out of 100, 30, 40, 50, and at that point he's pretty much done. But there's a person with their hands still in the air, and he's like, well, how much did that person get? He's like, 98. And I was like, whoops. So that was me. I got the 98 on the U.S. citizenship test when I was in 8th grade. And so from then on, it kind of forged he kind of looked after me in the sense of like history, and challenged me a lot more, gave me a lot more to read. I would do different kind of assignments in the class. It was just, it was really interesting. But I remember we were sitting down one day and he was like, Turner, what do you want to do? And up until that point, I wanted to be a paleontologist. I wanted to study dinosaurs because I think dinosaurs are the coolest freaking thing ever. And when I finally got to see dinosaur bones at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, I was like, oh. But anyway, that's a story for another time. He said, basically, he's like, well, you're really good at history. And it's not just the memorization. Like, you like the other aspects of it. And so he's like, basically, he told me, he's like, there's 3 things you can do if you want to teach. He's like, you can work in a museum. And I was like, okay. He's like, you can write books. And I was like, that does not sound fun. He's like, or you can teach, and obviously he brought up the different teaching of like college and high school, middle school and stuff like that. And so it always kind of sat in the back of my mind as like, might be something interesting. Well, I got to watch my cousin, Matt Turner, who's a really good biology teacher at Spanaway Lake High School, what are they? Swam against them. Don't remember. Spanaway Lake.
Sentinels? No.
Sentinels, yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Anyway, and so they, it was really cool to see that, and it was like, huh. Then when I got to high school, they actually offered a class called Teaching Academy, which you were supposed to take like ed careers and like the early childhood education classes, but I was like, I don't want to be an elementary teacher. So the teacher let me in because she needed guys, and that was Jenny Muhlenbrook. She's a fantastic teacher. And so I got a chance to do it, and I absolutely loved it. I got put in Miss Hurling's 9th grade world history class, and Linda Hurling was awesome. And I remember because I would go and I would just volunteer and I'd help out at Stall Junior High. I would just help out and do whatever I could and stuff like that. And I got to teach a lesson, and I remember walking into her class and she was dressed as Indiana Jones on day one. And I was like, this is awesome. What's going on? And they were getting ready for the classroom-based assessment, or now called OSPI developed assessments. And she was going to whip them into shape with a real bullwhip. Didn't hit any kids, but she did make it crack once, which was dope. But that was amazing. And she had like just kept my enthusiasm, kept my spirit up for it. And I kind of found my niche. They were ninth graders, but it was still out of junior high. And I kind of figured out that's where I wanted to be, right? Go to college, get to volunteer with fifth graders, get to do all that stuff. But it was just like, it was those previous teachers. Oh, I guess I left off one, and that's terrible for me. Brad Merck at Emerald Ridge High School taught my AP U.S. history class. And I still remember, and I'm just telling stories at this point because this is so fun and nostalgic. I was taking AP Junior English, which is literature, Langlit literature, language and composition. And we had to do a book report. My two books that I had read that were considered classics are Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, which was awesome. If you ever read it, there's also a show on Netflix, not Netflix, Hulu, where they made it. It's really good. But the other one was, I was trying to find the shortest book possible so I didn't have to write it. So one of the books on the list was the Communist Manifesto. And so we're in AP US, we're talking about communism, Red Scare, the whole shebang. And he's like, yeah. And someone's like, well, where can you like learn about communism? And he's like, oh, in the Communist Manifesto. And I like reach into my backpack and like pull it out. He's like, oh, Comrade Turner, you have our book. And I was like, yep, that's me. But just that energy that's brought to class, kind of get it from all these great teachers. And so it was one of those ones. The last thing was when we were in college, we read an article in, I think it was just like Ed 301, like it was just the basic class. And it said that kids decide whether or not they're going to drop out in 6th through 8th grade. And after that, they just hang on to school as long as they can until it becomes too much of an annoyance, and then they're done. They've already made the decision. And so I told myself, I was like, if I can get one kid to not drop out because I'm just a goofball and they enjoy my class, then that's my biggest goal. And I think you've seen it. I've seen it now because we've both been teaching for a significant amount of time, where we've had multiple kids graduate, and it's just a cool feeling to see them and to see where they're at in the world. And so I wouldn't change teaching for anything, but that's how I got into it, and it's a solid base for me to live my life on. So wow, that was deep, heartfelt, sentimental. We got plenty of time left. What are you feeling? You want another one?
Yeah, we can do another question. I was laughing today because I was we did senior orals, and all the avid elective teachers, there's 4 of them. They're amazing avid elective teachers, and they're all avid moms. So I was talking today about how well some of my avid kids and some of my football players who are avid kids had done in their senior orals. And there's a couple of the girls that were in there, and I was like, well, I'm a former avid dad.
Yeah.
So hashtag, what is it? I think they're juniors and sophomores at the high school right now in Quincy.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm like, I was an avid dad. My avid babies, like the ones that I really claim, are those like the ones that I had as 7th graders and 8th graders.
Yep.
And I'm like, my avid babies are sophomores. They're going to be juniors soon. And like the girls just stopped and looked at each other like, there can be avid dads. And it was just kind of like this, it made me like almost like tear up a little bit, like
Yep.
kind of like going back to those avid vibes. But
it's a cool thing.
Wouldn't trade teaching for the world.
No, and we deal with a lot of things, and I'll tell anyone who wants to get into teaching, there are aspects of my job I do not like. I can't stand. There are hard parts of my job that I have to deal with. But it all goes away when you see a kid's light bulb click. And it's just it's a great feeling. So, and every day is different. I love that. It's probably one of my favorite things is every day is different. You never know. And I love middle school because it's an emotional roller coaster. And some days they hate you, some days they love you, some days they just don't know.
And middle schoolers aren't quite humans yet.
No, they're not. You're the one who taught me that.
That's I think if that's the way I used to sum up teaching middle school. I taught with Mr. Turner and I were in the same building for 8 years. 8 years? Yeah, because I was there for 9.
Yep.
And you weren't there for the first one, but you were there for the second one.
Yep.
And for a fair number of those, we shared a trailer.
Wouldn't change it for the world.
And I used to say that, and like people, other middle school teachers, like totally understand that phrase.
You really
because
do.
like their bodies are changing, their brains are changing, and they're not quite sure who they want to be yet. And I think that's kind of part of what I miss working at the middle school is that seeing the beginning of that journey. And now I'm working predominantly with sophomores. So I see kind of the second step of that journey, which is still cool. And I also think it's another one of those, it's an opportunity to serve your community. I mean, that's honestly what we do. Like, I always tell kids, if there's a teacher who tells you they're in it for the money, they're either really dumb or they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we make a fair wage. It's gotten a lot better. I'm not going to decry that. Like, I'm able to provide for my family, and I'm thankful for that. But the bonus checks that we get are when kids, stop by.
Oh yeah.
Or they send you a message, or they one of my first ones that sticks with me is a former student of mine left Kuwait and was in DC at George Washington and goes, I took a psychology course. And because I took psychology from you, it was not an AP class, just regular psychology, high school psychology. She's like, I aced my psychology class because it was pretty much the exact same stuff that we covered in your class. And so it's just the little things like that where it's like, thanks, kids. And you need those. And like, if you're a young teacher, who knows? Maybe there's probably not many that are watching us because we only have tens of followers. Yep. But a new one, Cadence Chris Savage out of Babe. He's one of my football players who's going to graduate here soon. So
congratulations.
Yeah, been talking about our banana episode. I'll give him a shout out, see if he's still listening, holding on. But for young teachers, make yourself or any job really, make yourself like a good times folder, where like any time that you get a positive note, an attaboy at work, anything, I don't care, like anything that's positive for you, like put it in a file folder. And when you're having a crap day,
oh yeah,
peruse through that good times folder. Yeah. And I'm trying to think, did Barb, I think I can attribute that to Barb Holmes.
Yeah.
Because I think Barb was where I got that. It's either Barb or Jill. Mm-hmm. Could be a combination of both. So back from the ride or die times at Quincy Junior High.
Yeah.
Oh geez.
Golly. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things that like I if you are listening and you're one of we had the privilege of teaching you, or are teaching you right now, we just know that how much we appreciate you. Right? Even when you come in and flip us crap, like we know that we're there for you 100%. We don't go 110 because we'll die. But I mean, that's there's not much more to say than that and how much we love our jobs. So, but yeah, that was a great question. Super appreciative. Bark, you want to we'll sneak in one. Okay. I'm going to give you the choice, the people's choice. So Bark, you can pick who is your favorite president. You can pick what would you be if you weren't a teacher. Or you can pick what is your spirit animal? Which one are you going to pick? Favorite president, what would you do if you weren't a teacher, or your spirit animal?
Oh, dang. That's hard. Because I feel like people who know me know the spirit animal one. I feel like I already kind of talked about what I would do if I wasn't. The quick and funny answer to what would I do if I wasn't teaching is I'd be an unemployed comedian who thinks he's funny, but he's not.
I'd go watch your show.
but let's go with favorite president.
Okay.
My favorite president, and I feel like it's kind of an odd choice. Or do you want to go first? Do you want to go first? I feel like I've talked a
No,
lot.
I toss that question up to you.
Um, Jimmy Carter,
Okay.
which is a lot of people don't see him as being super successful as a president. But one of the things that I admire about Jimmy Carter, and I think the reason he wasn't an effective president necessarily, was he was too good of a person.
Mm.
He wasn't willing to play politics just to play politics. Um, he is one of the few presidents who is probably his legacy is related to what he's done after his presidency rather than what he did in his presidency.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, he's pivotal to the Habitat for Humanity programs and
Mm-hmm.
pushes there. But
Still builds houses at like I think he's 96 and he still builds houses.
yeah, they asked him if he was going to run in 2016 and he laughed. He said, "I think I'm too old."
Yeah.
Um, and he's just, I think he's like genuinely like a good person who religion is important to him and he shows it. I admire the way that he serves others and shows how religious he is rather than telling people how religious they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think that that's a big piece of it. I'm not super religious, I guess, in my adult life, but I really believe in like the way that you treat other people is probably the biggest your impact. And I always talk about this with kids. It goes back to the teaching question, like you have the choice of being a positive or a negative influence on other people. And like I definitely see my job is to try and be a positive influence for as many people as possible. And I think that he tried to do that and he wasn't willing to sacrifice morals and ethics
For a more successful presidency.
for political gain, whether it personal or national.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching AP World this year, when we got to the modern era, I would often say, if you want to be able to make moral and ethical decisions all the time, like don't lead a country because countries don't make moral and ethical decisions. They make political and economic decisions,
Yep.
which nobody gets rich by being. It's hard to become rich if you're a nice guy.
Yep.
Like that's not the way you become rich. So Jimmy Carter's my answer.
I like it.
I guess for a lot of people, unconventional and probably not a very
No, definitely not a popular answer.
yeah. Family Feud, I would lose.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
But I'm okay with that.
Good. I like
He's
that.
on my Jimmy Carter's on my shelf of good people with Bob Ross.
Yeah.
And Steve Irwin,
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's good.
Who's your favorite president, Mr. Turner?
Favorite president. That's a tough because I feel like I have this I love how thought out your answer is and I love how heartfelt your answer is and I'm racking my mind for people that match that in that sense. And I'm going to give an answer that's going to be very, very common. And that is, I'm going to pick Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And that is, he's one of the people that I would love to have dinner with and just pick his brain. His life was very interesting. Secretary of the Navy during the First World War, Assistant Secretary of the Navy during the First World War, crashes in politics, whether you call it polio or Guillain-Barré syndrome, right? Crashes, derails his political life, rises his way back to the top, brings I would say a socialistic style of government to attack the New Deal when he saw something that wasn't working. He worked to try and do it his way and fix it. And did it work? Yeah, to an extent. But it was just, he was that voice in the darkness, whether it be on the radio or on speeches. Like, he just gave people hope. And I think that's part of being the president of the United States, is you are the nation's biggest cheerleader, right? You have to give the people hope. And, to run again, to break precedent from George Washington, to do that, I mean, maybe he thought about it for political purposes and political gain, but like at the same time, he saw a moment when the country needed him, and he continued to do it. And he served his life all the way through to the end of his life. And so it's one of those where I look at him and I look at the decisions he had to make, and I just don't know many people on this earth who could have made those types of decisions. Like, I don't care what you are today, what political party you are today. I am a firm believer that every single person who's ran for president in the past 8 years would not be able to do what he was able to do. Rally the country together in a moment of crisis and deliver unity, even when you have opponents, breathing down your neck, because they're entitled to their opinion. But to see your way through and to finish the job, is very, very impressive. So I'm going to say Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to be mine. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that is enough Q&A. If you want to hear more, let us know that you want to hear more by dropping a comment on this, write us a message on Instagram, right? Any of those other things. We're always looking for things to talk about. We are coming to the end of our school year, which means that season 3 is almost a wrap. So make sure you get in those final ideas. Barker, what's your guys' last day of school?
I believe it is let me look at my phone. So Wednesday, it's either the 15th or the 16th, I think.
Okay, cool. Ours is the 17th with the snow. So we only have about 3 more episodes to record. So, and then I'm getting married, and we'll have the summer, and it'll be great. So if you have any ideas for last minute shows that you want to watch, AP World Kids, if you have anything that you wanted more in depth, My Kids, if you want anything about the American Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, give us a holler. Let us know. Bark, anything else?
No, I think I'm good for tonight.
All right. Until next time, I'm the Turn.
I'm the Bark.
And we're going to be here a long time. Have a good night, everybody.
Be safe.
And be well.